is the Optometric Society of the District of Columbia. This resolution is referred to the House as submitted and without recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Klinger. Microphone 3. This would require a motion and a second from the House.
Mr. Speaker, Michael Rosenblatt, delegate from Washington, D.C. I move that we adopt Resolution the American Optometric Association withdrawal support for the ABO.
Is there a second to the motion? Microphone 5. I'm sorry, say that again.
Dr. Joseph Asatora, New York. I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the resolution. Microphone 3.
Mr. Speaker, I encourage you all to bear with me. As with any organization, past leaders and members establish rules and regulations to help keep future leaders and members on the right path and allow the organization to maintain its intended purpose and preserve its values. The AOA is no different. The AOA is a great organization with a rich 113-year history. Our past leaders have made certain that today's AOA continue the same purpose as in years past. To help achieve this, we have 3 documents that help guide us down our path. We have our Constitution and bylaws, our House of Delegates resolution and substantive motions, and the AOA Board of Trustees administrative policies and statements. These documents are the culmination of many hours of work by many people from the past that have led this organization. Within these documents, our past leaders have given us the guidance for making decisions today. These documents give us the parameters, the do's and don'ts, what we should use to help make our decisions moving forward. They allow us to build upon the foundation that our past leaders have worked so hard to create. In June of 2009, at the Gaylord Hotel in National Harbor, Maryland, the then House of Delegates voted to approve what is now substantive motion M 2009-2, board certification. The approval of this motion effectively created both board certification for general optometry and the American Board of Optometry. This one act violates at least 3 past substantive motions, one dating back over 70 years, and one Board of Trustees policy statement. Substantive Act 392, originally passed in 38, is titled AOA not to endorse as superior any specific procedure, instrument, product, or business/commercial entity, certain restrictions on activities of AOA volunteers. With good reason, our past leaders saw fit to protect the name and reputation of the AOA. They felt it important not to endorse specific entities, to remain neutral. Not only are there concerns of legal ramifications regarding antitrust for the AOA, but by remaining neutral, the AOA would be better served and viewed as more trustworthy and respected by both the profession they represent and the public the profession serves. The ABO has been established as a separate commercial entity. It is not part of the AOA umbrella. There are no less than 3 certification organizations and certainly more to come. In M 2009-2, endorsement of one commercial entity, the ABO not only violates the public's and profession's trust by not staying impartial, but in fact opens the AOA up to the potential of antitrust litigation. Much effort and concern has been spent by this organization to make sure that we are protecting ourselves from this grave danger. Some have stated that the passage of M 2009-2 has been perhaps the most divisive action in recent memory to afflict our profession and our association. The American Optometric Society, an association of nearly 1,500 optometrists and growing, has been created by this one act. Many affiliates have reported lost members with nearly 40-year histories of service to our profession. There are at least 2 local affiliates contemplating all measures available to them to withhold AOA national dues, but remain an integral part of the respective state society. To any observer, this indicates divide. Past AOA Board of Trustees and House of Delegates have known the value of members and put in place actions to maintain increased membership numbers. Resolution 568, currently still in force and dating back to 1942, recognized the importance of members. Membership drive for organized optometry, as it is so aptly named, very simply states that it is desirous to have all eligible optometrists as members of organized optometry. In addition, the current AOA Board of Trustees administrative policy statement a 48-page document, has a section that concerns membership. Previous House of Delegates and boards have recognized the importance of stabilizing and increasing membership numbers. Specifically, they say, and I quote, that the AOA desires to have current and potential members recognize they cannot afford not to be a member. So the passage of M 2009-2, the one action that has so divided our profession and this organization, is counter to Resolution 568 and this Board of Trustees policy statement. Individual members and now large groups of members, whole local societies are effectively finding ways or looking at ways to leave the AOA. This AOA Board of Trustees and this House of Delegates must find ways to stop this trend, to repair this divide. We must find a way to stop the downward spiraling effects of M 2009-2. Passage of M 2009-2 board certification has been perceived by many states, rightly or wrongly, as possibly preempting the state's traditional role of regulating and licensing providers. One unintended consequence is the adoption by state regulatory boards of what is to be a voluntary program of board certification as now a requirement for licensure. Although not stated as a goal of M 2009-2, the reality is that at least one state has already started a dialogue at the state board level to investigate this possibility. So where does a voluntary program start and a requirement for licensure begin? And how about beyond the state level? The AOA has shown enough concern about state licensing rights to have passed Resolution 1803, Healthcare Provider Licensing. Resolution 1803 states, the licensing and regulating of healthcare providers are of the highest importance to the general public and a concern to optometry and other healthcare professions. So it be resolved that the American Optometric Association make known to appropriate federal agencies its concerns with preemption of states' rights in licensing and regulating healthcare providers. So this AOA House of Delegates should make certain that going forward, the AOA follows its own rules and fight at both state and federal levels to protect optometry and the current state rights to determine licensing requirements. Passage of M 2009-2 board certification is wrong in so many ways. But most importantly, its passage completely undermines what many past leaders and past House of Delegates envisioned for this organization. The AOA's principles have been compromised, the profession fractured, and the association has suffered from this one act. Continued endorsement of the ABO is just wrong. The AOA has the right to withdraw endorsement of the ABO, and it should do it now. In conclusion, I would like to address a comment I'm sure we will hear in the upcoming discussion in the next few minutes. To a warm round of applause, someone will stand up and say, we all know what this is just sour grapes. Well, I ask you, is it sour grapes to try and protect this organization from antitrust litigation? Is it sour grapes to keep this organization on the path set for us by past leaders? Is it sour grapes to try and improve upon the ill will created by this one decision 2 years ago? The decision that has divided our profession and contributed to membership losses mentioned by our Secretary-Treasurer 2 days ago. If all this is sour grapes, then yes, I guess it is just that, sour grapes. So I say to this House, for the sake of this organization, the public and the profession, do the right thing and vote to approve this resolution. Thank you.
Microphone 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dan Russell, President of Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania would like to speak out in opposition to Resolution G. Simply stated, in 2009 at our House of Delegates in Washington, D.C., our membership made their position clear to support the formation of the ABO. Pennsylvania continues to stand in support of that vote and intends to oppose Resolution G and vote no. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Microphone 8.
Clark Newman from Texas. I rise to speak against this resolution. We have been over and over this, folks. We have heard over and over how we're seeing the stars aligning to help our members with board certification. We have a duty to protect our members, and one of those things is giving them the competitive tools that they need to compete in the marketplace. Ophthalmology has board certification. So when it comes to PQRS incentive payments, they can do them. If we vote this resolution through, we will take from our members one of the tools that they will need to compete in the marketplace. You heard yesterday that there had already been given, just in 2009, $4 million worth of incentive payments to our members based on the PQRS stuff. And that is something that will be taken away from them in 2014 if we vote board certification out of existence. I was against board certification at one time. And then I became chair of the medical loan project team. And I saw what was happening in the healthcare marketplace, both at the governmental payroll level and at the private level. We need board certification. And right now, the ABO is the only approved board certification program by CMS. When some other program comes along, we can choose between them. But until then, we need to support that one system. So far, we have not spent one dime of this association's money because what we gave to ABO has been paid back. To the contrary, we have a loan guarantee that now covers a little less than $1 million that will expire next year. And if we vote away board certification, we might damage the business model of ABO, and then we're on the hook for money. Is that what we're supposed to do for our members? I think not. We need board certification so that we can move forward in the regulatory environment that we find ourselves deployed. These are not our choices, but they are our reality. The last point I'll make, nothing we did in 2009 advocates anything with regard to licensure or regulation. Every one of those arguments is spacious, and we need to consider them as such. Please vote this down.
Microphone 8.
David Hayes, President, Washington State. Regardless of how you may feel about board certification, this House has already spoken to that in the last 2 years. But even if the House wanted to completely change the direction, there's no way that this House can support this resolution. If you look at the first resolve, it essentially says that any AOA volunteer, and there are a lot of you in this room, have to immediately cease participating in the ABO. That makes no more sense than if this House was to say every AOA volunteer had to participate in the ABO. There are a lot of other things wrong with this resolution you've already heard, but just on that simple point alone, this can't stand.
Microphone 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bob Biddle from Pennsylvania. I first want to echo my President's prior statement and speak out in opposition to Resolution G. The AOA should continue to follow the direction mandated by the membership and support the ABO. Mr. Speaker, this room is full of leaders. True leaders should never remove options that have the potential to benefit our members and their association. The ABO provides members with a voluntary option to pursue certification for the purpose of better serving their patients. Good leaders should provide those options for the members and never remove those options. I say today, Mr. Speaker, that if board certification has been an issue that has divided our profession, it certainly has done so to a much lesser degree, in my opinion, than the inability of the minority in this association to accept the wishes of the majority. Thank you.